my name is Philip Town and I'm from Denver, Colorado. As Eddie mentioned before, we are fall tourists of the Continental Singers, and that means this fall we are traveling throughout the United States and to the South Pacific, to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. Now, when I mention those places, I can just imagine some of the thoughts that might be running through your minds. Something like, the South Pacific, huh? Well, that's really roughing it for the Lord. Well, I've got to admit, the first time we found out where we were going, some of those same thoughts came across our minds. But as we discovered more about those places, we began to get excited because we saw the opportunities for ministry that lay ahead of us. We were surprised to find out that in Australia, less than 5% of the population there attends church regularly. And because of that, they are no longer considered a Christian country. We were excited to find out, however, that 2 years ago, the last time the Continentals were able to go there, every member of the group was able to pray with at least 5 or 6 people and lead them to the Lord. And so as we go, we're asking God to help us to look beyond the geography of those places and into the hearts and the lives of the people we come in contact with. Right now we have a media presentation, and it tells you a little bit more about who we are and shows you why we believe God is using music, like nothing else, to reach people for Him.
19 years. It's hard to imagine that so much time has gone by. Sometimes it seems like only yesterday that it was 1967, and one small tour took to the road. The Continental Singers' mission was clear: to reach out in God's love through music to bring people to Christ. Over 70 tours have gone out since then, involving over 8,000 eager Continentals taking the message of Christ to almost every continent in the world. Today, our mission remains the same. From our own backyard to the oppressed churches of Poland and Russia, from Australia, Iceland, and China, Christ is being proclaimed and lives changed. And not only spiritually, but physically and emotionally as well. For 1985, we joined in partnership with World Vision International and raised nearly $2 million for famine relief in Africa and South America. This year, we're working with Campus Crusade for Christ to raise awareness and support for the Jesus Project, a unique outreach that uses the motion picture Jesus as an evangelistic tool. Already, the film has been translated into more than 100 languages, with over 2 million people seeing it in 110 countries. Of that, an estimated 400,000 people have expressed a desire to know more about a personal relationship with Christ. Equally exciting is the long-awaited formation of the International Continental Singers, where young people will be trained to minister to their own people in their own language. In Europe, New Zealand, Latin America, and Hungary, these groups will be able to communicate the gospel in ways that we cannot. Jesus told us to go into all the world for Him. It's a command that we at Continental Singers take seriously. It's our purpose for being here with you now. We can't do it alone. Will you stand with us? In this generation, the world will know Jesus only as we show Him to them. His love, His light must come from you and me. We are the windows that God must use to shine Himself into their darkness. We must be the ones to go. The world waits for us.
with you that I had this past spring as I was traveling with the Continentals. After one of our concerts, a little boy came up to me, and he was about 5 or 6 years old, and he asked me how I could be so happy. So I took that opportunity to share with him the love of Jesus and the joy that he's given me. And I had the privilege that evening of leading that little boy to Christ and of hearing him pray that prayer of salvation. And after that experience, it made me realize how we as Christians are constantly put in the spotlight. And the world is looking to us to be the example. It says in Matthew 5:14 that you are the light of the world. A city set upon a hill cannot be hidden. Therefore, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. As I remember the little boy, I'm reminded that even though I wasn't aware of it, he was watching me. And we need to be reflecting Jesus in everything that we say and do, because the world is not always going to listen to what we have to say unless they're first able to see the love of the Lord shining through the windows of our hearts.
You know, that song asks such a very important question for us as believers. What can I do to bring people to Jesus Christ? You know, honestly, I don't believe there are enough of us today who claim to be believers, to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, who are actually going out and doing enough of what we should be doing. When in actuality, if we look at it in 1 John, it says, if we love Jesus Christ, we will keep his commandments. And his commandment for each one of us is to simply go into all nations, preaching and teaching the gospel, telling people about Jesus and his love, the life that they can have through him. And I know that not all of you tonight are going to have an opportunity, as that says, to go to all nations, you know, like Africa or China or the South Pacific, like this group is going. But each one of you here tonight has the opportunity and the responsibility of going to your own mission field. Right here in this community, this is your mission field. And because there are people all around you who are dying a spiritual death because they don't have a relationship with Christ. No one's ever told them. Right now, as you just think about all the people that you come in contact with every single day who don't have a personal relationship with Jesus. You know, maybe it's someone you work with, you see them 8 hours a day. Young people, it could be somebody that you go to school with. It might be a next door neighbor. It might even be someone inside your own family who doesn't have a relationship with Christ. And right now, as you think about those people, think about yourself now. Think about what you've done to see that those people come to Jesus. Have you taken the opportunities that you've had? Have you developed a burden for those people's souls that you will do whatever it takes to see that they come to know Christ? Boy, that's what each one of us needs to be doing. You know, and if Jesus were here tonight, standing in my place, and were to just look out at each one of you here, and if he was to just ask you a question that since 1986 began, since this year started, how many people have you brought to me? How many people have come to know me because of your testimony, because of your witness? Would you be ashamed to answer that question? Or could you honestly stand there and tell Jesus that you've done everything you could? You've taken every opportunity. That's what he needs. That's what we should be doing. Not just because we're commanded to, but because we should want to. Shouldn't we be excited to go out and tell the world, a hopeless world, the message of hope that we have? You know, the message is that Jesus Christ, who came to this earth, was born 2,000 years ago as just a simple little child. He grew up a life very similar to what we go through, experiencing trials and temptations and struggles. One day, he was put to death on a cross. But we all know that 3 days after that, Jesus Christ rose from the dead, and he's alive today. We serve a living God. And you see, that's a message of hope that our world needs to hear. And we can even add to that. Because we know that the Bible says that for any of us who believe in him and who trust in him, someday Jesus is going to return for all of us. He's going to take us home with him, and we're going to be able to live and reign with him forever. Tonight, that's the message that we need to start spreading around the world. But it starts with you, the individual, taking the message to those people right around you. That Jesus Christ is still the King of Kings, and Jesus Christ is still the Lord of Lords.
True.
have been built and fallen, only time has made a change. Nation against nation,